Hello, everybody. Today, I'm going to be playing some Amulet Titan. It's a deck that I've been having some relative success with online, multiple 4-1s and 3-2s and so on and so forth. And I figured today I'd go ahead and jump on and give it a recording. I'm about to hop into a league, but before that, I wanted to quickly go over some of the choices in the list. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Amulet Titan, just to describe briefly a little bit about what this deck is about. You use cards like Dryad of the Elysian Grove, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Cards like Azusa, Lost but Seeking, which lets you play 2 additional lands on each of your turns, and other cards along that vein, like Explorer, play an additional land, Arboreal Grazer, put a land into play, tapped, basically. So the entire deck is geared towards ramping out lands and casting this card, Primeval Titan, very quickly. So the earlier you can get this guy into play, the better. In fact, it's possible for this deck to win on turn 2. I'm not going to go into much detail about that. It might occur, hopefully, through the course of the games that we're about to play, perhaps through the league. But this guy is a 6-mana, 6/6 trampler, a colossal dreadmaw, if you will. But when he enters the battlefield or attacks, he allows you to search for up to 2 land cards. So you play him, search for 2 lands. You attack with him, search for 2 more lands. So clearly a very powerful effect, or maybe it wouldn't be that clear, but we can combine this ability with various toolboxy lands such as Bajuka Bog, which exiles a graveyard. One of like Ghost Quarter, which lets you interact with your opponent's lands. Just various things like that. And so that's what gives the deck its strength and versatility. So for those of you who are familiar with Amulet, you may find that this is quite a stock list. 4 Explorer has been pretty much the normal recently. Ancient Stirring's coming in to replace Once Upon a Time, since it's been banned for a while now, but still some may not be familiar with this card in Amulet. Anyways, the couple things that are of note for anyone familiar will be the 1 engineered explosives in the main board, which is usually relegated to the sideboard along with the second one. Just because sometimes the one-ofs like explosives and pact negation that you would usually see in the main board are not quite that important. Sometimes they're just dead cards. Sometimes you'd rather just be playing a Titan, and instead you draw engineered explosives. So it's kind of hit or miss sometimes, but because of the fact that Luris is still legal in Modern at the time of this video, at least, today they just announced a couple of bannings, including Luris and Legacy, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes occur for Modern as well. But because of Luris decks, specifically Luris Prowess decks and Luris Burn, Engineered Explosives happens to really shine against those decks. So it enters with a number of counters equal to the colors you use to cast it, and you can sacrifice it for 2 mana and blow up all things with that mana cost. So if I play it with the green and pay 2 to blow it up, it'll kill everything that costed 1 mana because I used 1 green to play it. So anyways, it lets you get a leg up in those matchups where they're just much faster than you. They get on the ground quicker, and there's a lot of those running around in current Modern, so I'm testing out the one of Engineered Explosives in the main. And then the second thing, which I know that I actually asked this question of F. Paulus in chat, and he said that he regarded playing 2 Vesuvas as sort of like training wheels, but in my personal experience, I found the second Vesuva to be very good. So I am playing 2 copies of this land. It enters as a copy of any land on the battlefield. This can be especially useful because not only can it copy your one-of lands like Bajuka Bog and Ghost Quarter, like I mentioned before, but it also does some very interesting things with Valak at the Molten Pinnacle. Does damage if you have a bunch of mountains every time a land enters the battlefield. Making extra copies of it does extra damage, obviously. So, anyways, that's just one example of a synergy with Vesuva. It also lets you do things like have extra copies of Boros Garrison if you happen to have already one in play and you need red and white mana that can come up when you want to haste your Primeval Titans. But that's enough talking about the main deck, I think. Moving on to the sideboard, I've included 2 copies of Negate to help combat against ad nauseum, different types of control matchups. Pact Negation for the same reason, but a 0 so we can search it up with Transmute on Tolaria West. I've also chosen to include 3 copies of Dismember. This is not any close to some kind of great revelation for the deck. This is just what Amulet Titan usually plays. It has very bad fast creature matchups, very weak to specific creatures like Mages of the Moon, things like that. Dismember is very good for combating those particular types of matchups. We got a couple copies of Obstinate Baloth, just a kind of a beater that lets you gain some life. It does some interesting things against discard, as you can probably tell. But mainly it's there for the red aggro matchups. Again, specifically Burn and Prowess. It helps kind of bridge the gap between your early game and your Titan, just so you have a way to make sure you get there. Then we got a couple of things to interact with artifacts and enchantments, such as Beast Within, Reclamation Sage, Force of Vigor, and differing numbers because they all have slightly differing effects. But the ultimate goal is the same: destroy problematic permanents. We've got 1 copy of Chameleon Colossus as a way to combat mid-rangey or more black-focused Lurrus decks. Those, for example, Death Shadow, anything in that kind of vein where protection from black on a creature that can be as threatening as Chameleon Colossus can be very strong. Of course, you can search for this card in the Rex Sage and the Tireless Tracker that I'll discuss in a second, coming up with the Summoner's Pacts in the main board, so it kind of gives you an extra little bit of a toolbox. Finally, coming to the last 2 cards, we've got Tireless Tracker, again for those grindy matchups where you need something to fill your time with, especially if your Primeval Titan happens to get discarded. Tireless Tracker will help refill your hand back up by giving you a clue every time you play a land, letting you draw more cards, play more lands, so on and so forth. So that's the idea. And then we've just, to round out the sideboard, got a 2nd copy of Engineered Explosives. Some would consider perhaps playing something like a Fire Spout. Let me see if I can pull it up. Some have played copies of Fire Spout, and I've actually really enjoyed this personally in testing, but I don't find the splash color of red to be particularly reliable. It'll always kill a Mages of the Moon whenever it's in play, but otherwise it can be a little bit of a difficulty to cast. So ultimately I chose to go with what I view to be a little more consistent. I like the way my mana base is set up right now, so I'm opting not to play Fire Spout, and instead am just playing the 2nd copy of Engineered Explosives, just as a way to have a hedge against those very fast early aggro decks. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and come over here and jump into a Modern League. But yeah, I've been having some pretty good success with Amulet Titan recently. Some of the Lurrus decks are, I would say, positive matchups. Some of them are more even. Not a big fan of the Jund Lurrus matchup, for example, but against, say, Lurrus Prowess or Lurrus Burn, I've had a really positive experience. So we'll see if they reveal a companion. Maybe that means a good time or a rough time for us, depending on the deck. So we'll see. This hand looks pretty good to me, personally. We have an Explorer to dig further toward the Titan, and we're on the draw. We got an Amulet, not exactly turn 1. We'll probably play it turn 2 off the castle, but that's fine. Alright, so as discussed, leading on the Garenbrig. There might have been an argument for leading on Field of the Dead in case I happen to draw a green 1-drop creature. We don't, so I guess it's not relevant. I'm a little afraid of a counterspell here, but I'm going to make him have it. Yep, it's kind of what I was afraid of. We will not pay. Have not played against Blue Tron before with this particular deck, so this will be an interesting matchup. Sure. So, I'm thinking perhaps we play the 2nd Garenbrig. We got 7 in hand, so if we pick up the Garenbrig that's in play to one of our bounce-ins, we'll have to discard, so I'd like to avoid that if I can. Oh, no, I guess we wouldn't have to discard, but still, this is better if we happen to draw a second amulet, so it's fine. Expecting more condescends or remands here. Ooh, Cavern Souls will very nicely punch right through that, so that's a great draw. In fact, we can lead on the Ancient Stirrings here, and then use the Cavern to play the Explorer, or we can just play Explorer. I'd rather Stirrings, I think. We'll take a TUS here, I suppose. No, get us our Titan. And then I'm going to go ahead and show them the information of the cavern here, just so I can get this Explorer out on time. Well, I guess that's actually a turn late, since we weren't able to resolve that amulet, but we'll see regardless. And we do see a remand. That's no big deal. We have the ability to play for a little bit of a longer game here, since we have the cavern, so... O-Stone. That's interesting. So, I'm just going to go ahead and play out the Explore first. Maybe we draw something that influences our options. Summoners Pact means we don't actually have to TUS for our Titan, so that's good for us. In that case, I think I want to play... We need a green source as well for our Titan, so I think it's just going to be Field of the Dead and Vesuva copying Garenbrig, I suppose. Yeah. Now, admittedly, we actually can't Titan with Cavern next turn unless we draw an untapped source. So I don't know if next turn is going to be the turn to go for the Titan. I'd much rather have the uncounterability on the Titan from the Cavern of Souls. So unless we draw an untapped source, I think we're probably not playing it next turn. Owner of the Sea is an interesting one for Blue Tron. I'm not keeping up with Blue Tron lists, but I've never seen that one in there. So math means they have Tron. That could be bad news. Let's see what they have here. I guess there could have been an argument for trying to play out blue sources so that I could transmute for a Pactor negation. Okay, we got a Thought-Knot Seer. That's not good news. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. We could still... Nah, I was going to say we could still top deck a Titan. I mean, if they tap out here, though, they'll still blow up our Titan with O-Stone, but we can at least get... Ooh, there's a Titan. Okay, so we're definitely casting it. What I was going to say is we can at least get Ghost Quarter, perhaps, to disrupt their Tron. And we could get Bouncing plus Ghost Quarter to replay the Ghost Quarter and blow up probably the power plant since they searched for it. And that way they're forced to blow the O-Stone to deal with a Titan. But then we have to transmute for another Titan. I think that's probably best, though. Well, how much does the Tron impact us here? Surely if they play something like an Ugin, we'd just lose on the spot, but if we lose our Titan here and take another 2 turns to get to Titan, maybe longer because we don't have the blue sources in play, it might be better to ignore that the Tron entirely. I think that's what I'm going to go for as well, just getting 2 blue sources in place so we can transmute this TUS as fast as possible. I think that's fine. Nope. See, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lands, so what we play here doesn't make a difference. I'm just going to play the Valakut. Here, they're pretty much forced to blow O-Stone unless they have the answer to the Titan. I feel like if they had an Ugin, they would have played it last turn, so we're probably safe from Ugin, I would say. I apologize if the camera picked that up. I just had a bit of a sheet over my watch. I just got it programmed and stuff, but I didn't realize that I had the little plastic thing on top of it. So they crack the Omen of the Sea on upkeep, which is quite interesting. Maybe they're scrying to see if they can find that Ugin that I was talking about, because that would put them in a very good position, I would say. Although, because of the way we played it out, we have 4 to activate Garen Break and a land drop, so we actually could play a Titan next turn anyways, even if they played an Ugin. I don't know how good that would be, though. It would probably be fine. No, because then I would be playing the O-Stone. I mean, I don't know if we would have a choice at that point, though. Alternatively, we could transmute this TOS for the Ghost Quarter. Interesting spot. We'll see what they have, though. All of that depends on, because I'm assuming the worst case scenario, right? I don't know if I said Ugin earlier. Yeah, Ugin's the right one. I always confuse them with Ulamog, which I doubt that they're playing, but I guess they could be. But Ugin would be problematic. I don't know what else they could have here that would be particularly important. I'm not super loving this O-Stone. We just have to play through it. Discarded Walking Ballista. Huh. If they happen to find an Academy Ruins, then this O-Stone could be problematic. So I'll probably want to pick up a copy of Bajuka Bog once they blow it. Engineering Explosives is not doing a whole lot here. So, let's see. If I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different lands, so I can get Field of the Dead plus some other, or a Vesuva to copy Field of the Dead plus some other random land, and that's fine. Or I could play land and get 2 Vesuvas, but I don't think that's particularly good in the face of the O-Stone. I could also transmute T-West for a Dryad to get Summoner's Pact for a Dryad, and that is weak to a counterspell, but if they tap out, then they can't O-Stone. No, if I get Dryad, then they just O-Stone the Dryad and the Titan before I get any land drops. Or I'd get 1 land drop, but it wouldn't do anything because they just kill the Dryad in response. So I think we're just going to combat here. And they don't let us go to combat, which is wise. They don't want us to get the free 2 lands. So here, we probably need a T-West for... Oh, we're still in our main. That's interesting. I don't think we can take advantage of that. But yeah. Here we're going to T-West for Summoner's Pact, and we're actually going to move out of this main phase anyways, because they have the one floating. I want to play around a remand. We'll go to second main. Alright, now we're going to get a Titan again, and this time we're going to exile their graveyard, I think, and copy Field of the Dead. That way they can't set up any kind of Academy Ruins loop on us, at least for the time being. Which we may not need to play around, in all honesty, until we see it. But I think preempting is probably better than not. Plus, I guess we already have the other TOS in place. There's nothing else we really want to get here. So I think this is the optimal line. And we'll yield to these. And we'll go ahead and play a blue source, I suppose. And the question is, what are we bouncing? I think it might be wise to pick up the Cavern so we can force through a Dryad next turn. So they thirst for knowledge. Probably looking for an answer. Again, Ugin would be really annoying. Although, if they don't do anything relevant this turn, we might be able to use this TOS to search up a Pact of Negation just to make sure we don't get Ugin, because I think that's the most likely way we lose this game. Wormcoil Engine was not doing much. Must agree there. That Thought-Knot Seer took our one Summoner's Pact and we just happened to top deck a Titan, so that was pretty good from us. Not gonna lie. We didn't even need to cavern through this Primeval Titan, either of the ones that we resolved, so. I would say it's probably not usually how this matchup plays up. Or plays out, I should say. Ooh, I actually didn't notice I had the second Vesuva in play already, so going for a line that involved getting 2 Fielded Eds on a Titan trigger would not really have worked out. Alright, so let's choose not to lose the game. I think that's probably a pretty good line. Probably no reason to play anything. Is there a reason to transmute for and play Dryad? I can't transmute and play Dryad, because the first land drop would have to be a bounce land. So I think I'm going to combat first. And this way I can get a bounce land to pick up the T-West and something else. Ooh, Cyclonic Rift? Ooh, okay. It's kind of nasty. Okay, so we'll go to second main. Now what? We can replay the Titan. Let's see, so we do 1, 2, 3, and then we could have 2 floating. And that doesn't really do much for us. I think it's probably, they don't have any blue mana, so we're definitely casting Titan again this turn, I think. And if there's, oh wait, so I can play this forest, and we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, leave up 3 to transmute, and transmute for Pact. I think that's the best line. So that's what I'm going to go for. Tap it this way, just because might as well. We'll play Titan. Yes. And this will get any bounce land. We'll go with the Gruul Turf, because we have Sanctuary in hand. And then the other land, we'll go ahead and just get a Ghost Quarter to set up. Might as well. We'll float our mana. We'll pick up the T-West, and we get Pact of Negation from this transmute. We don't have Pact of Negation. I forgot, it's in the sideboard. I said that in the deck tech. Well, we've got another Titan lined up if we need it. And we can force it through with the Cavern, so they've got a lot of work to do. Yeah. We probably should have actually gotten the Sanctuary there, so that we would have haste mana available. I didn't think about it. I was just thinking about a different name for Field of the Dead. I mean, of course, all that depends on them having an answer to the Titan. If they can't answer it, then it probably... Yep, that's game. Okay. But yeah, it would have been better to get the Selesnya Sanctuary, actually. Alright, so we want Negates and Pact of Negation. Wish you were there game 1. That would have, I think, sealed it. Beast Within can hit a Tron land, or it can hit a Planeswalker, or a Thought-Knot Seer. I don't know. Or an O-Stone. I think that probably makes it good enough. Tyler's Tracker is a nice one. Rexage. Oh, they're almost certainly going to have Chalice of the Void. In which case, I think I need at least 1 Junior Explosives, maybe both. I'm going to bring in the Force with that in mind. Chameleon Colossus serves as a threat, but I don't know how good. I'm going to board out at least 1 Pact, because they tend to be a little redundant going long. Same with Ancient Stirrings, since we're going to inevitably draw our lands and amulets. Maybe even board lower on Ancient Stirrings. Azusa is kind of medium, because if we get to the late game where we don't have a Titan, unless we have exactly a Field of the Dead in play. The Azusa doesn't do much, so I'm not a huge fan of Azusa in this matchup. We can board out a couple Grazers. I think Amulet's likely to be better. We'll go ahead and cut the second pact. Dryad's great. Reclamation Sage we need for the Chalice. Board out one more Stirrings. And maybe there's a land that we could board out, like a Garenbrig. Or we could do a basic land. We don't need them as much. I think our plan is probably to force through Titan with this Cavern. We'll see. We'll figure it out. I think this is good for now. On the draw, I wonder how the matchup changes due to that. So we have an answer to Chalice. We have a way to force through a Titan. We have a Titan, and we have a couple pieces of ramp. Quite slow, but I think we can manage slow, even if it's on the draw. If we draw an Amulet or an untapped green source, this hand becomes much better. I think it's a keep. Okay, so we got a map. I don't know if there's any... Oh, there's the Amulet. I was going to say, I don't know if there's any sense in forcing this map. What would we pitch? Probably a Grazer. I don't really want them to get to an early Tron, so I think I am going to force it. Yep. Don't want to destroy our Amulet. We'll get rid of this Grazer. Although, I guess now I'm kind of leaving myself exposed to Chalice. Might have been a bad choice. We'll see. We do have a colorless land, so we can engineer explosives for 1, but with the colors being 0 if we have to. Ooh, they have the second Tron land too. Okay, float the mana. I think we're just gonna leave our bounce land in play here and explore. Yeah, I think that's the best line. Okay. Let's go ahead and get this bog into play so they can't somehow recur their expedition map, I suppose. Yep. And we'll see how this goes. Can remove this upkeep stop. I would anticipate this match to be favorable. Maybe not that totally favorable, but I mean, this is certainly not helping. Okay, so we'll take an island, I suppose. Gets us a little bit closer to transmuting T-West, or paying for this pact negation. That damping sphere is kind of problematic. Although I guess it makes me glad that I left the Sanctuary in play, otherwise I'd be down a land for literally no reason. Okay, we'll play this on home. I suppose I don't know if he'll think it's worth it to blow up this Amulet immediately. Didn't think so. I don't think it's particularly threatening to him anyways. I guess, what is the downside to leaving Amulet in play? If, let's say I were to play something like a Ketria Triome, which is not unreasonable to expect, then it would let me play it and untap it and transmute T-West immediately. But that's a really small downside. Most lists are just playing Breeding Pool anyways. So that's probably not a consideration on his side. Well, we're looking good if we ever draw a green source. I'm certainly getting punished for the Force of Vigor play earlier. Although we did keep him off Tron, but I mean, he could just draw into Tron while we're trying to draw into a green land. In case you weren't aware, Damping Sphere says that if a land is tapped for 2 or more mana, it produces colorless instead. So this Selesnya Sanctuary is sadly tapping only for a colorless. We also have 2 colored sources for an Engineer Explosives if we draw it. And that can blow up the Damping Sphere. Although I expect it's probably not likely to resolve. Well, there's the explosives. I mean, we don't get anything by not playing it, I don't think. So, if this is played into a remand, then so be it. If it's hard countered, we give him the scry, but I mean, we're gonna need to be able to push this or one of these things through. This is just a condescend for a lot. Oh, pact mitigation. Is there any sense in that? Well, if I pack this and play 3, yeah, there's no way. We will not pay 5. Okay. However, if he goes for a counterspell on a Dryad, let's say I draw a green source and he goes for a counterspell on the Dryad, then it might make sense to back it up with Pact. That way, on the next upkeep, the Dryad will let me tap for the blue mana for it. It's kind of weak to repeal, but you gotta do what you gotta do. This is a Karn Liberated. Okay. That's not a usual one in Blue Tron either. The Drowned Catacomb makes sense because a lot of them play Dismember in the sideboard, similar to us. Some people play a it's not great. Some people play a Golgari Rot Farm instead of the second Selesnya Sanctuary in Amulet. I'm opting not to do that because I find the downside of not having the differently named card is frequently irrelevant. Let's get rid of Summer's Pact, I suppose. Yes, I guess that's fine. Because we need to draw a green source before we can do anything, and I don't expect us to be able to win this green source fight very quickly. If we don't draw a green source soon, though, we're probably just gonna scoop because this guy is not an easy one to beat. Good to know about, though. Definitely getting getting punished for that force play earlier. Although maybe he would have had this guy on turn 3. Who knows? That's a green source, actually. If we Ghost Quarter ourselves, and we'll only have 4 mana, so we can't pay for this. So I think the play is going to be Ghost Quarter ourselves to cast Beast Within on his end step. Beast Within to blow up the Damping Sphere, and then if he counters it, we just let that go, untap and play Dryad with the force that we search for. Yeah, I guess you can have the Field of Dead. We're really low on lands, though. There's not going to be any protecting, unless we draw a bounce land, that's fine. Unless we draw a bounce land, there will be no protecting this Dryad with a pact negation, sadly. So let's get our green source. We'll go for the Beast Within, and if he counters it, we'll untap and play Dryad, and we'll see what happens from there. He's playing regular basic, so I'm going to go for a snow basic on the very unlikely chance that he happens to be playing a regular forest as well. That way we could copy it with a Vesuva. Unlikely, very unlikely, but okay. He said no thank you to the Beast Within. Don't blame him. I have to go and plug in my computer soon. Is there a point to casting Beast Within now? No, I don't think so. I guess we could do it on upkeep. I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay. Did he buy it back or did he just counter it? He did not buy it back. You, sir, can get this pact negation, I guess. Feels bad. Feels bad. Okay. That is something. we could play Amulet and then play Boros Garrison and then use the 3 mana to... No, wait. It'll tax it for 1 more if we go for Amulet and the Beast Within. So I think we're just going to go for the Beast Within. Actually, we could do the same thing where we did it on his upkeep. But that won't let us play our Garrison, which he'll probably just eat one of our bounce lands or our green source anyways. I think we just have to go for the Dryad now, actually. Yeah, okay, we're just going to scoop it up. So, green sources happen to be very good against Damping Sphere. So, let's take this Garen Brig back and take out a Cruel Turf. We know they have Damping Sphere, so it makes me interested in a second Explosives, because they might also have Chalice and just never drew it. And it makes me also want to cut an Amulet, perhaps. That or a Grazer. Probably an Amulet, though, because the Grazer puts us a land ahead. Yep, and let's run it back. I probably ought to go put my computer on charge. And we can probably get through this pretty quickly. This is an unusual hand. If one of these was a green source, I'd take it. But neither of them is. I guess I have to mulligan. And this hand plays around nothing, but it has Titans and it has Explorer. I'm going to keep it. And then we can ship Redundant Titan. We'll play the Castle on 1 and plan to play Explorer on 2. And again, to play around Damping Sphere, we're going to sandbag this Simic Growth Chamber. It also plays a little bit better with Amulet if we happen to top deck an Amulet. We don't. Play the T-West. We can bounce it next turn and transmute it if we want to. Probably transmuting for a Cavern. Yeah, I think transmute for a Cavern and then play the Cavern lets us Titan, and not this upcoming turn, but the turn after. And that plays around a ton of counterspells too. And it doesn't get blown out by Chalice as well. What did he map for? The power plant. Okay. Yeah, I think that's the play. I'll just play the one that we just drew. And this way he has to have like a Field of Ruin or a Damping Sphere or something. Otherwise we get to Titan next turn and he can't interact with it. So that's looking pretty good. That's Tron. That's annoying. I mean, we've got 2 Titans, so I think I'm still just slamming a Titan here anyways. We could alternatively transmute for an Engineered Explosives, transmute the other T-West, which is fine considering we probably won't need a Summoner's Pact. We could transmute, but we can't actually force through that, so I'm gonna play a Titan this turn, and then maybe try to force them to both interact with a Titan, because it's still a 6/6. Force them to both interact with a Titan and have an answer to my Engineered Explosives. This way I might actually be able to transmute and play the Explosives all in the same turn. So blue, colorless, 1. Nah, we would need 1 more color. That Torpor was quite good. Didn't stop us from playing a Titan, but... Check this. 16 minutes. That's pretty low. I might have to pause this and go grab my charger. We'll see. The Thought-Knot's here. That would be kind of annoying. Okay. Oh, this is only entering the battlefield, so we actually can get lands off of his attack trigger, which I had not realized. We might still be in fine shape, actually, if he can't answer this Titan immediately. That's Ugin. That's not great. He's going to have to -6 it, though, so it means the next Titan's going to be good. Okay, I think that's probably what we're doing. Romp, romp, romp. Here comes another Primeval Titan. Don't even have to pack for it. Okay, we'll play a Sanctuary here so we have that extra color for Engineered Explosives, I suppose. Not that it makes that huge of a difference anymore. I mean, he has to deal with this Titan or he loses the Ugin. This is a +2. Okay. Better find something great. I mean, it doesn't have to be that great. I just played a Colossal Dreadmaw, so... How are we doing on charge? I'm going to try to push it out. It's another thing for Engineered Explosives. Okay, so we're taking some damage. He could have a Cyclonic Rift, I suppose. Ooh. Ooh. That's not good for him at all. What are we going to search for? Probably Field. Field and something else. We might want to play a land so we can get Field Bounce Land. I don't hate that. We already used both T-Wests. We could get Field Ghost Quarter. I like the Ghost Quarter idea, so that's what I'm going to plan to attack. Get on the attack trigger. No thanks. We will have to make sure we can pay for this pact negation, so we might need to get Breeding Pool in order to play around it. Uh-oh. My computer definitely crashed. Let's restart this. I'm going to go ahead and pause it for now while I get everything back up and running. See you in a second. All right, so sorry, back again with this. Yeah, so we were about to attack. I believe the plan was to get Field the Dead and Ghost Quarter. We have all different names on the battlefield for our land, so that should be fine. Then the question is, what do we play after? I think it's most likely Growth Chamber to pick up the Ghost Quarter. No, that doesn't make sense, because once we get the Ghost Quarter actually in play, definitely attacking Ugin here. Once we get the Ghost Quarter actually in play, then it'll just untap when we go to our next turn anyways, so... Oh! And it looks... Okay, I was afraid that was going to be another, like, a Cyclonic Rift or something. What was it they cast before? Aether Gust. I was afraid that was going to be another blue spell. I didn't even consider that they had the Talisman out. So that things could have gone quite poorly for us there, but... In addition to the computer crashing, I guess it could not make it. Discard Island Blast Zone. Why ever would you discard Blast Zone? Let's just go with the Ghost Quarter route here, I think. I mean, do we want to show them we have a Ghost Quarter coming, though? I guess it's better in case they can somehow answer the Titan. just to have the Ghost Quarter already in play. That way we don't have to do any shenanigans to get it working. So we kill the Ugin, get that out of play. And now, let me take a peek at their graveyard. Got a map. Nothing else of super relevance. So I'm not really interested in bogging just yet. I guess before I do anything else, I'm going to start by casting this Stirrings. Okay, we'll take another Vesuva. Yeah, Vesuva copying this field seems like really difficult for them to beat. Alright. Huh. This Torp Orb, I thought it might get me. Well, it still might, we'll see. But double Field of the Dead is quite good news on my side. Plus, we have this Simic Growth Chamber, so even if we ran out of lands, we could just keep replaying Simic Growth Chamber and bouncing itself back to our hand. So we have an infinite stream of zombies here. We're playing around them having a Ghost Quarter of some sort, or something along those lines. So unless they have two of those effects, there's not going to be a way for them to deal with the Field of the Deads. We don't have a extra blue source to play around, say, a Damping Sphere. That could be an issue. It looks like they don't have it, perhaps. That or they don't see the line. Yes. Okay. We got to untap. That is fantastic news. Yes. So, we didn't lose the game. That's a good first step. I'm going to go straight to combat. Yeah, let's just attack everything. Oh, everything. Even you, little guy. Alright, what are we getting here? We could get a Vesuva to copy the Ghost Quarter. I don't know how I feel about that. I like Valakut here to set up for a Dryad turn, and that's a red source. Probably just a Vesuva again, copy field. Let's just get this game over with. We already dealt with Ugin, so I don't know if they would play more than one. They probably don't. They probably only play the one, so that's the only thing that really punishes the zombie plane here that I can think of. It's possible I should have Ghost Quartered the power plant already. Nah. I don't know. I guess this plays a little worse around Cyclonic Rift, but we're just gonna play a land and get 3 more zombies anyways, so I think we've got enough on the battlefield. Dismember Primeval Titan. You got it. Do it again. Or not. Okay, that's cool. Maybe like there was a spatial contortion coming or something. Okay, so here I'm starting to be interested in this Bajuka Bog. I don't think there's anything they could use to get back the Ugin, but it might be best to wait on the Bog. I don't know. Before I activate this Ghost Quarter, I definitely want to get a land into play. Let's get the Sun Home, I suppose. % extra super lethal. And on their draw step, I suppose, we're going to Ghost Quarter this power plant. Alright. Boom. Please die. Sure. And we'll yield through the turn again. Well, there's a power plant, but at least it's not an Academy Ruins. We win! Alright. So that was a clean, well, not so clean, but that was a nice little 2-1 match against Blue Tron. I'm going to go ahead and pull the deck back up here just so we can look at it for one last time as I do the outro. Didn't really get to see the power of our negates. Oh, I deleted one. You can come back. Alright, so that's the deck. I'm sure you have an idea of what the plan is by now. Clearly, you don't have to have an Amulet in play to be able to function. Anyways, if you like the content, if you like what you saw, leave a like, subscribe. Maybe I'll be back around for more. I do have this Esper control list that I was thinking about playing at some point in time in the future. It's very close and dear to my heart. I played this for about 5 years, until recently, until Veil of Summer kind of ruined everything. But I really enjoy this deck as well. I don't have a full sideboard put together quite yet, but I can figure that out for sure. There's some cards that would be missing, like Force of Negation, or maybe the 3-mana Teferi, just because I don't really have them at the moment, but I'm sure the deck can still function without. I could also just play some for fun games, or maybe play some 2-player queues or something along those lines. Or who knows, maybe it's worth it to just hop straight in with the league and see how it goes. I haven't really done any testing. This is just where it's at the moment. But yeah, so I guess if there's enough interest in that, I might play some Esper as well. But like I said, Amulet Titan, pretty big powerhouse at the moment. Definitely one of the few decks that's still playable without a companion, so glad to hear that. Yeah, I guess that's it. I'm Red Face Menace, signing off.